In today's episode of Entrepreneur Corner, we are discussing the concept of marketing. And in the previous episodes, we've touched on a little bit on the concept of price, quality, and service. And today we want to link that into your marketing plan. So Anton, can you break it down for us in terms of how do these concepts relate to your marketing strategy or marketing plan as a small business owner?
Sure. So we spoke about price, quality, and services being three elements that any entrepreneur or small business can compete on.
Yeah.
And just to explain it again for those who might not have seen that, in essence, when you go into market or when you launch your business or when you compete with other businesses, there's three elements that you can focus on. Price, in other words, how you price your products and services.
Yeah.
Quality, the quality of the work and the products that you provide. And then service, which would be things like, are you open 24/7? Do you work on weekends and after hours? What sort of after sales warranties do you offer, etc.? And what traditionally leads to sustainability in a business is that you focus on two of those elements. So for example, if you decide I'm going to go to market on quality and service, you have a very high quality of work, very high quality of your products,
Yeah.
your service is exceptional, willing to work after hours and turn things around in 24 hours, but then obviously your price needs to be expensive because it costs money to deliver good quality and good service.
Yes.
Another example would be, okay, you decide I'm going to compete on price and quality. So very high quality products or services, a good price, very reasonable price, but then when it comes to service, at 5 o'clock I close.
Yeah.
And that's it. Don't call me after hours, don't call me on a weekend, because that costs money.
Yeah.
And what traditionally happens is that a lot of entrepreneurs try and compete on all three.
Yeah.
So they try and give you incredible quality of work and product, they give you very good levels of service, and they try and give you the best price as well. And invariably those three are at odds with each other. There's friction between them. And you're going to burn out, or you're going to wipe yourself out, or you're going to go out of business trying to compete on all three. So that's just a kind of reminder of what those concepts mean. And then today we're going to look a little bit more, as you said, as to how they relate to your marketing strategy.
Just before we get to marketing, how do they decide which concept to focus on? Is it the type of business they're running that allows them to say, okay, I'm going to focus on pricing and quality?
It's a good question.
How do they make that decision?
I think every business is different, and it also, there's other factors at play, like how much competition is there, how rare or unique is my idea.
Yeah.
Because obviously, for example, if you're the only person providing a certain service in your industry, then your price you can almost set your price. When there's a lot of competition, you wouldn't be able to. But I think as a benchmark, in terms of how do you decide what you should focus on, it really relates to, and this also ties into your marketing strategy, it relates to who your target market is. How does your particular target market relate to price, for example? How do they relate to things like quality? Do they, for those of us who shop at Mr. Price, for example, with all due respect to Mr. Price, we don't expect the t-shirt that we paid 39 Rand for to last for 10 years. So we are happy to get something that's a lesser quality because it actually comes in at the right price. On the other side of that coin, if I bought a t-shirt at Dolce & Gabbana and it bummed out after a year, I'd be very annoyed because I paid a high price.
Yes.
So I think it's about understanding who your customer is and what their expectations are from those three elements. And that'll help you actually identify where you should be focusing. Should you be charging higher prices but delivering very high levels of service and quality? Or should you be very, very focused on giving the best price, but then something else has to give?
So now when we get to the marketing plan, what are the basic elements that should formulate your marketing plan for your business?
So I think the first thing, the starting point for me is always to understand who your customer is. Who are you trying to target? And how do they relate to those three elements that we're talking about, the price, the quality, and the service of the offering that you provide?
Yes.
you know, what people tend to think when they're starting out is that the whole world is their customer, and that they kind of engage with the market or communicate with the market on that basis. And the reality is that the more refined you are and the more focused you are on who your actual target customer is, who's the person most likely to support you and to buy your products or services, the easier it becomes to market and the easier it becomes to formulate a strategy. So that would be the starting point for me. Then we do things, you know, most marketing plans have got a SWOT analysis, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. I'm personally not a huge fan. I think there's too many moving targets there to actually have that any value in that exercise. But, you know, 50 years of enterprise development theory says otherwise, so who am I to argue?
Yeah.
But for me, the most important elements of any kind of a marketing plan or marketing strategy are knowing who you want to talk to, because that then tells you how you should be talking to them. Because if you can identify my ideal customer is millennials aged 25 to 30 who are very active on social media, you know, it's already telling you, like, I need to be on social media to be marketing my products. And then you would also need some kind of a budget in any kind of a marketing plan or marketing strategy that says, how much am I prepared to spend?
Yeah.
You know, tradition sort of dictates that up to sort of 15% of your profit should be plowed back into marketing. I've probably yet to meet an entrepreneurially based business that puts a fraction of that back.
Yeah.
And you know, when times are tough, the first thing we stop is advertising and marketing, when ironically that's the first thing we should be putting money into when times are tough. So, you know, in terms of a strategy or in terms of a plan, it's about knowing who you want to communicate with. That'll help you formulate what you need to be saying and through which channels you need to be saying it and how much money it's going to cost you.
I'm glad you mentioned the budget as we wrap up, because we're talking about startups. Mainly people are just starting out. Some they're just testing out the idea if it's going to work or not. So the budget is always an issue, meaning they don't have money to put into this marketing plan or strategy. So what do you tell someone like that?
I would tell them that there are a lot of free platforms that one can use to get started. It costs nothing to set up a Facebook for Business page. It costs nothing to set up a Twitter account.
Yeah.
It costs nothing to create a LinkedIn profile. And it costs virtually nothing to sit in front of your laptop and start communicating with your potential target market. I think what tends to happen is people spend a lot of money on things like infrastructure, computers, maybe even staff and offices and equipment that they need to run their businesses, and then leave marketing as if there's anything left over, I'll toss a few pennies that way. And ironically, the businesses that succeed are the ones who think in the other direction.